know what I'm in the mood for. I really wanted to read this one. Cindy, why? And you know, it's not looking good for him. Hello lovely people, welcome back to my channel, or hey if you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Today we are joined by a very special guest. Cindy! Cindy is going to be the VIP of today's video. She's going to be the star of today's show. She's going to choose what I read for a week. So Cindy has been tasked with selecting 3 books for me to read this week. How we are going to do this is I'm going to put 2 books in the screen with a treat on top of each, and I'm just going to say go and let her run to whichever book, and whichever book she runs to first is the book that will be getting selected to read this week. Cindy currently wants to go on a walk to the park. I've had to bribe her with that, so she's not really wanting to be in the video ATM. However, you've been introduced, that is Cindy, and now I'm going to run through all of the books and the potential options for today's video and which options Cindy ended up choosing. So the first pairing that I selected was 2 thrillers. So we have Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak, and we also have The Perfect Son by Frida McFadden. So I kind of selected these 2 because they're both thrillers, they're both high up on my radar. This one is actually on my June TBR, and I felt like, you know, they just kind of go hand in hand. I don't have too many thrillers on my TBR, so we have minimal selection. However, these 2 I'm definitely very intrigued to read. So these are the first 2 options, and I'm going to hit pause and you are going to see which book Cindy ended up choosing. Ended up choosing Hidden Pictures, which I am actually so ecstatic about because this one was kind of the one I was leaning more towards favouring, and I kind of wanted this one to be chosen the most just because when I flick through this book there is illustrations throughout and there is actual drawings, and I find that so interesting, like a mixed media approach. Anytime there is some kind of mixed media in a book, I'm way more intrigued, and I just feel like it's very entertaining. This book I believe is more of like a paranormal thriller. We have a little boy who draws some pretty weird pictures, and the new nanny is kind of a little bit like, what is going on here? This isn't normal. And he's sort of speaking to this imaginary friend that he believes is real and he can see, and he believes is telling him to draw these pictures. That concept sounds really intriguing and entertaining. So we had that. The other option, which didn't get chosen, was The Perfect Son, which also does intrigue me because it's about how much a mum will go to protect her son. So a girl goes missing and the last person to see the girl is this mother's son, and you know, it's not looking good for him, but what lengths will the mum go to protect her son? I think that's kind of the gist of what this one's about. However, this is the book that we will be reading in the reading vlog. The next pairing, we have these 2 books. We've got Savour It by Tara Jewett, and we also have What If I Never Get Over You by Paige Toon. I kind of paired these 2 together because they're both on my June TBR, and they are both more cutesy, rom-com, just fun, silly romances, I guess, and I kind of felt like they paired nicely together. This one, I will say, was a tough one because I kind of 50-50 with these. Like, I don't really lean towards one or the other. Like, I want to read them both equally. This one is a newer release, so that is quite fun, and I do love a Paige Toon book. However, this one I've heard really great things about, and I feel like it would be such a fun, silly, goofy time. So let's hit pause and see what book Cindy chose. Cindy ended up choosing What If I Never Get Over You by Paige Toon, which I am actually very excited about because This book is a new release. I am a page turn lover. Seven Summers last year was one of my top books of the year. It was incredible, and I have been very much highly anticipating this new release. From what I can gather, it's about two people who meet when travelling, and they have like the greatest week ever. They kind of really hit it off. And then something happens, they don't end up seeing each other for years and years and years, and then they end up being in the same job and the same workspace and having to see each other after all this time and rekindle what they had because they've kind of never forgotten each other type of thing. So that alone sounds like a really entertaining plot, and a very, almost kind of sounds a little bit emotional in a way. So I'm very excited to give this one a go. We do have the sprayed edge version, which is interesting. I feel like page turn loves to do a sprayed edge these days. On the other hand, the option that didn't get chosen was Savour It. This one is like a small town. I think it's coastal town. Yeah, it's a coastal small town. We have a girl who is a city girl, I think, and she moves back to the small town. We have a chef, I believe, and I don't really know too much else. I just know that it's like a fun, romantic small town, and honestly something about a coastal small town is just the coziest thing to me. I love that scene and I love that backdrop, and I feel like I am really excited to pick this one up very soon, maybe on a summer holiday. I feel like it would be great to read by the pool. Sadly, it didn't get chosen. And the last pairing of the video, we had The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava, and we also had Butcher and Blackbird by Bryn Weaver. So these two are both, actually that's a lie, this one is on my TBR, this one is not. There's not really any similarities between these two books, like they don't really coincide. However, they're both like similar lengths, and I didn't really have another book that would match Butcher and Blackbird, so we're just kind of rolling with this one. They are like not similar at all. So we're gonna hit pause and we're gonna see what book Cindy selected. Cindy selected The Truth According to Ember by Danica Nava. This one I have had on my TBR since a couple of months ago. My boyfriend actually bought me this one. I'd never heard anything about this book. He just kind of picked it from the works and thought I would like it. So this is the book that Cindy has selected. I believe it's workplace romance, which I don't tend to read a lot of. And I think it's also about a girl who sort of gets herself into a bit of trouble from telling all of these little white lies that kind of snowball into a bit of a chaotic mess, which sounds quite fun. And then we also have Butcher and Blackbird, which didn't get selected, sadly. I really wanted to read this one. Cindy, why? I really wanted to read this one, especially because it's on my June TBR as well. And I feel like this is just one of Book Talk's most popular books just in general. Like, this series is so well talked about, and it's a comedic dark romance. It's a comedic dark romance between two serial killers. I'm gonna leave that there because that sounds crazy. However, I'm really wanting to read this book, so I'm quite sad that this one didn't get chosen. But you know, Cindy has spoken and I must trust Cindy's opinions. So these are the books that my gorgeous angel baby Cindy chose. I am so excited to read all of these books. I can't wait to get started on this reading vlog. We have a thriller, we've got a cutesy page turn book. You guys know I love page turn, and we also have a little workplace romance. So honestly, we've got quite a fun TBR for the week, and I'm really excited to get started on these books. Let me know if you've read any of these books, or even let me know if you have read any of the books that did not get selected for the reading vlog. I would love to know your thoughts and feelings on them. And without further ado, I think we should start reading. have officially started the first book that precious little Cindy has chosen for me to read this week. So out of the 3 books that she chose me, I was just really leaning towards this thriller. Something in me just needed to read a thriller, and I think it's because the last book that I read was Releasing 10, and that was such a heavy book and so emotional, and I just needed something quick and that my brain's just going to be like working things out, and I'm really going to be problem solving, and it's just going to be bingeable and easy to read. So I went for the thriller, and out of the 2 thrillers that there were, I feel like these are very different. I think the Frida McFadden one was more of a typical thriller, whereas this one leans more towards like horror. It honestly might be in the horror genre. I'll have to fact check that. But we've made it to page 204. So we're like halfway through this book right now, and I thought I'd do a midpoint check-in because so far I'm really enjoying this book. I'm having such a fun time. It's very fast to read because throughout the book there is like lots of illustrations and drawings which feed into the story, and I feel like each chapter kind of leaves me wanting more and wanting to find out more. There's lots of mysteries going on in this book, and honestly there's a lot of times where I'm a little bit stressed for the main character because I just feel like things are just not going in her favour, and I really am quite stressed to find out what is going to happen for her. So far we have Mallory, who has had a bit of a troubled backstory. She's not really had the greatest, you know, history. She's kind of got a history with using drugs and being a drug addict, and she's kind of, this is the light at the end of the tunnel. She's sober now, she's looking for a job, she is trying to get her life back on track, and she takes up this job working as a nanny for this little boy. Now the job seems picture perfect. She has her own little cottage on the grounds. The neighbourhood is the most scenic, happy family neighbourhood ever. She is obsessed with it. She loves the vibe and the feeling that she gets from being in this neighbourhood, and she's like, I'm gonna take this job, this is perfect. So she is like the full-time babysitter for this little boy, Teddy, and Teddy is, I think, 5 years old. He is just like your average little boy really, but he likes to draw things, and a lot of his drawings are very normal, very childlike, just what you'd expect, but some of the drawings are very creepy and very weird, and Mallory is like, what is going on? This is not normal. And he has this imaginary friend called Anya, who he says, you know, is the character in his drawings and who is telling him to draw these things. So we've got this kind of like demon type ghost woman figure that is friends with Teddy, and so far it's very spooky. I will say last night I was reading this late at night and it was dark, and I literally had to fold the corner down and go to sleep because I was like, if I read any more I am genuinely gonna have a nightmare. I actually got so scared. I really don't know why. I think it's just because the pictures are quite creepy at times, and it just ended off on like a really eerie scene, and I was like, that's it, that's me done for the night, I'm going to sleep because I will have a nightmare. It might not be scary for you, but I was very scared last night. It's a lot later now and I just got out of the shower, so excuse my appearance, but we have finished the first book of the video. We have finished Hidden Pictures by Jason Rekulak. This one I'm gonna rate a 4 stars, a solid 4 stars. I would definitely recommend this book. I thought that this book was fast-paced and bingeable, and I had a really good time with it. I know in the last clip I said it felt really spooky and I was like getting scared. However, I will say the second half of the book definitely wasn't, in my opinion, as creepy or scary or spooky. Like, it didn't have that eerie, spooky vibe that the first half had for some reason. I think we kind of had like a very spooky feel to the first half, and then the second half was more just like finding things out, if you know what I mean, and I didn't feel scared at all, really. I would definitely also not say this is a horror. I know I did say that in my last clip as well. I would definitely say it's just more of like a paranormal thriller, because it didn't really have that many horror elements once I was reading more. I I feel like it rounded off really well. I would definitely recommend this to anyone who's in the mood for a paranormal thriller. It was fast paced, I had a really great time, and I definitely didn't feel bored the whole way through. I would be interested to read some more from this author. I know that he also has a book called The Impossible Fortress, but I've not heard anything about that book. So maybe I'll give that one a go in the future. But I would definitely read more from Jason because I feel like this was such a fun time actually, and it really reminded me of as if I was watching a film. Like this, the whole way through, was so reminiscent to watching a film. I genuinely could like imagine it playing out in my head like a film, and I love when that happens, especially with a thriller, because it feels way more immersive. And I swear that this is, I googled it after I finished the book and I was like, is this a film? Because I swear there is like a film with a very, very similar concept to this. Am I okay? Like, is that a thing? I swear there's a film where there's a small child who draws things that are very spooky. Is this a film, or am I just going crazy? Because I thought that it was, but this one definitely isn't. It's just a book. And yeah, thank you to Cindy for choosing this very enjoyable thriller. I would definitely recommend you guys to read this one. Now, as for my next read, I have these two to choose between, and I'm honestly not sure what I'm in the mood for, but I do have some time this evening to get started on the next book, so I really want to choose it now so that I can read a few pages tonight. I just don't know what I'm in the mood for. I don't know. We could go for this one, which seems like it's going to be like a really fun, quick, cutesy rom-com. But then also, I love a page turn book, and usually her books have me so hooked on the characters, and I get like emotionally attached to them. Is it going to be like Seven Summers? I really hope so, because that is like a god tier book for me. So, I don't know. Stay tuned to find out in the next clip, I guess, because I actually can't decide right now. Will I ever look presentable on a vlog? The jury is definitely out on that one. However, I have an update for you because I have started The Truth According to Ember. So far, I'm actually on page 250, so we're quite far into the book, but I thought before I finish it, I need to give a check-in. I have pretty much binged this book today. I feel like it's such a fun, light-hearted, bingeable book, and I'm having honestly the best time with it. It's really taken me by surprise. The writing style feels very fun, and the main character is she feels like almost relatable in a way in a lot of the things that she does, and it's like just such a light-hearted rom-com feel. It is a workplace romance. It's kind of like forbidden in a way, so those are like the key tropes. We are following our main character Ember, and Ember has kind of like this little issue with telling white lies. She kind of always just tells white lies just to make this situation easier and more comfortable for her. And she has been trying to get a job for ages, and she just keeps getting rejection after rejection after rejection. So she thinks, what can I do to change this outcome? Because I'm just getting rejected left, right and centre. So she changes on her job descriptions, she ticks the box of white instead of Native American. So the company has accepted her job application and given her the job after she has changed her ethnicity to white. So we're also seeing the effects of that and how crazy that is. So now she's starting in this job. It's her first corporate job. She's got this huge paycheck and this corporate lifestyle that she's not used to. So we're following her along, kind of finding her feet with that. And also she has started up this relationship with one of her co-workers who they're not really allowed to date other co-workers, so this is kind of like forbidden, but they're really sparking up this friendship and it's evolving into a relationship, and they have lots of chemistry that's kind of hard to ignore. And she kind of finds herself telling more and more white lies to, I don't really know, like conceal herself or just like create this fake life, I guess. And now these lies are kind of unraveling and she's gonna have to try and create a way to fix this and untell all of the lies to the people that she's taught them to. So that is kind of the premise, but the main pair have so much chemistry. I love reading about their romance, and I love that they kind of started off with more of like a playful friendship and now it is evolving into a relationship. And I just feel like the way it's written is really fun and I am having a great time. And like I said, a lot of the things that the main girl does feel quite relatable, like her inner monologue sometimes feels quite relatable, and I am enjoying her living this corporate lifestyle. I don't have a corporate job and I'm finding it quite interesting seeing her navigating like this big executive job for the first time. I think that's also quite fun as well. And that is my thoughts and feelings so far. I'm not really sure where I'm sitting rating wise at the moment. I think it's probably leaning towards like a 4-star, around that region, so we'll have to see. I'm going to sit down now, finish this last chunk off, and then I will give you my full review. Guys, I'm so sad. I just filmed this entire clip and it was in slow motion and I just watched it back and I'm like, I'm like, yeah, that was like a full 10-minute clip in slow-mo. We love to see it. However, what time is it? It's update time. That is what time it is. So we're gonna give my full rundown of what I've been up to. I feel like I've not spoken in a hot min. We have finished The Truth According to Ember and I've rated this one at 3.75 stars purely for the fact that I don't think workplace romances are my personal favourite. I feel like they're quite repetitive because we're always kind of in the backdrop of the office and it can kind of get a little bit, you know, the samey type vibe. However, saying that, this was still very entertaining and I loved the female character. I loved the romance. They had so much chemistry together and I feel like it was just written in a way where it just felt like a fun, giggly time, and I loved these two together. They had so many romantic moments and they really did belong together. I also think that the main female character was very funny, very witty, very relatable in many ways, and she just kind of didn't take herself too seriously, and I really enjoyed that. And I would definitely be intrigued to pick up another book from this author. I'm not sure if she has any or if this is a debut novel. We'll have to research on that one. I also feel like this book did a really great job of highlighting some of the struggles that Indigenous people go through and how the characters went through some situations where such horrible casual racism was shown and how they dealt with that and how they felt with that. There's a scene where they're in a bar and there's these guys being really disgusting and horrible and not really seeing what's wrong with their actions, and it's kind of highlighting that as well. But yeah, this book was very close to being a 4-star. It was just the office kind of was a little bit repetitive at times. However, saying that, towards the end, because of all like the lies that Ember had tied herself up in, it was surprisingly quite high stakes, and seeing her unravel sort of the mess that she'd made was quite stressful in a way that I wanted to keep reading to find out what was going to happen. So I would definitely recommend this book to read in between bigger books. If you're just looking for a fun workplace romance, then this is definitely one that you should add to your TBR. Next up, I have since started the last book of the video, What If I Never Get Over You by Page Toon. We are 200 pages into this book, so we're halfway through now, and it's giving me that classic Page Toon vibe, which I know and love. Seven Summers, I feel like I've talked about it a lot. I love that book. That is like one of my favourite romance books ever. Please read it. And this is her latest release, so it came out this May, I believe. And so far we are following Ellie. Ellie is a character who went solo travelling because of some circumstances that has led her to solo travel, and she's not really had a great time. She's not enjoyed herself until the last days of her trip. She meets a guy called Ash and they really hit it off. They spend 3 days together, like inseparable. They just are loving each other's company. And then Ellie has to go and meet her family for a week, but they arrange to meet back up at this meeting point, and they're going to meet up at a certain time and then they're going to carry on their travels together. ... That doesn't happen. Something goes wrong. They don't end up meeting up and they don't end up seeing each other for 6 whole years after that fact. 6 whole years. Yep. And then she takes a job, her dream job, as a gardener at this massive manor estate, and turns out the owner of the estate is this guy's dad. So he is the son of a viscount, and she is not really best pleased with that because he came off as this really down-to-earth guy who has these struggles similar to hers, and now she's like, oh, what? Also, can I just note, when they was travelling together, he had a Welsh accent, and it turns out he was actually faking that Welsh accent. And he actually has a very upper class London British accent. That's kind of the ick for me. Like, he just cosplayed as a Welshman for 3 days, and what, he was just gonna continue doing that until one day he was just like, psych, that's not my real accent, this is my real accent, and then just switch up completely. That was a factor I didn't really love. However, now they've kind of met again in this estate and they're gonna rekindle, I guess. We've got 200 pages to go, a lot could go wrong, but they are kind of forced proximity at the moment, and he is technically her boss, so we have that as well. But so far it's definitely giving me like a super summery, fun page tune vibe. I'm excited to carry on reading, so I'm going to finish this one tonight, and then we will have finished all the books that Cindy has chosen. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Guys, excuse me. Guys, it is literally torrential raining outside. I've come to my little shed in the garden and I'm feeling so cozy. I mean, I am reading arguably a summer book, so it kind of feels a little bit wrong. I feel like I should be reading some kind of wintry, cozy, spooky book right now. However, it is chucking it down, and I've just come in here. I've got a YouTube on, I've got my book, I've got the light on, I'm in my jammies, and I'm just going to chill here for a little bit and read a big chunk of this book. But I'm feeling so cozy, and I just feel like I needed to comment on how cozy the rain makes me feel, especially summer rain when it just chucks it down out of nowhere. Oh my god, I'm obsessed.
Just like that, I have finished the last book for the video, What If I Never Get Over You by Paige Toon. I'm going to rate this one a 3.25 stars. It kind of disappointed me because I loved Seven Summers so much last year, which was last year's release, and I feel like this one just fell quite flat. The characters weren't the most likeable, especially the main guy. Something about him just annoyed me, and I really did not like him like much at all. I feel like he was quite annoying and quite selfish in a lot of ways, and I just feel like if we totaled up all of the moments that these two characters actually spent together before they ended up together, it was what, like 3 months, maybe longer, and I just feel like they was being quite dramatic with that. So many times when we had a breakup moment or something like that, it just felt like it was so avoidable and it really didn't need to happen. It was just happening for the sake of the plot, and it just felt a little bit far-fetched and a little bit ridiculous at times. I did enjoy, you know, like the setting. I liked that she was a gardener and it was fun. It still had the same like fun Paige Toon feel to it. However, in terms of the romance, I just felt like it was a little bit far-fetched and silly, and I feel like a lot of the conflicts that happened were just ridiculous. I also, yeah, I don't know, that's kind of where I'm at with this book. It was fine. If I were to describe this book, it would be fine. It's fun, it's enjoyable, it would be good to take on a trip because it's really easy to fly through and it is like good vibes. However, is it anything that I will think about again? Probably not. And it didn't live up to Seven Summers for me. It just felt a little bit generic in a lot of ways, and yeah, it just wasn't my favourite book, but I would still recommend it to bring on a trip if you know going into it that you might not be, you know, having this groundbreaking romance story. But we don't always need that. So that concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching. Cindy is unfortunately sleeping downstairs and I really don't want to disturb her because I don't think she'd appreciate that, as we probably wouldn't appreciate being woken up either. So I'm going to leave her, but thank you so much to Cindy for choosing these reads this week. What have we had? We've had like a paranormal thriller, which was really fun. We've had a workplace romance. We have also had like a summery vibe romance, second chance romance, and I've had a really good time. It's been a fun week. I think my favourite book has been Hidden Pictures, which was the paranormal thriller, but I would definitely be intrigued to do this one again in the future, this video idea. As always, let me know if you have read any of the books that I read in today's video and what you thought about them too. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope to see you in the next one. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Bye guys.